Good evening, Otherworldlies. This is Queen Juliana, your dark mask diva. Imagine my surprise today when I was on with Ask Nathaniel and he was giving advice. He said when you're a woman breaking up with a man to just say, I can't do this anymore. And I thought, I was in a situation many years ago and I said to a man, I can't do this anymore. And that breakup actually worked. So his advice is 100% on point, okay? If you want to catch that video of his, it's I can't do this anymore. And you're going to want to watch that video because it's on point. That is what you say, okay? So when I was in that situation, I was with a very controlling man, and he was just driving me crazy. If you've ever been with a controlling partner, what they do is they just, they're very insecure. They accuse you of doing things you're not doing because their minds are always racing. They think you're cheating on them. They think you're doing things behind their back. They just think you're, that you don't want to be in the relationship, that you're, plotting and planning to leave, and they get you to the point where you do plot and plan to leave because they actually manifest you breaking up with them, is what they do, basically. So it's just at the point where, I had to say I can't do this anymore because the man was driving me absolutely crazy. Now, the reason Nathaniel said to say that was because you don't want to give details. Okay, you just want to make it simple. Now, the reason he was saying it is because you don't want to tell him there's another guy. Because of the male nature of jealousy. Now, when I said to him, I can't do this anymore, it's not because there was another guy, because there absolutely was not another guy. This guy was just too controlling for me to have another guy. But I'm just not a cheater anyway. But I just said I can't do this anymore because the man was too controlling. Imagine being with someone who is just constantly trying to make you nervous. Constantly trying to give you a hard time. Constantly trying to get in the middle of everything you're doing. Constantly just, he was bothering me on the phone all the time. Checking in on me all the time, checking with me all the time, just always trying to distract me, disrupt me, always trying to get me to do something for him, always, one hallmark of an insecure person is they can't do things for themselves. So he was always trying to get me to do things for him. So, he was always, can you get on the phone and handle this business? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because he was too insecure to do it himself. He was too insecure to deal with other people. He was just afraid to do anything himself. So he was always trying to get me to do things for him. And he was always trying to control me and get me to do everything. He was always trying to get me to handle all the business. He just could not do a single thing himself. But he would try to backlead and control the way I did it. But he was always trying to get me to do it. So I said, well, if you're trying to control the way I do it, then you need to just do it. Right? But he was just always, just trying to control me like I was some kind of puppet or something. But the point was he just couldn't do it himself. And he just was just constantly bothering me. Somebody like that, you can't tolerate. You cannot tolerate somebody constantly bothering you, constantly wanting you to do everything and then trying to control the way that you're doing it. I could understand if he just felt incapable of doing things and he needed my help. But he was constantly bothering me while I was doing the thing. So that just showed his level of insecurity there, and he just felt the need to constantly control situations. That wasn't all. I mean, I could tell stories for hours about him, how he just constantly needed to control things. He was always trying to make me nervous, always in the middle of everything I did. But so when I did say I can't do this anymore, there was no explanation needed. He knew that he was just too much. You know, there was no accusing me of having some other guy, or what do you mean, or anything like that, because he knew that he was driving me crazy. He knew that he was always constantly having to mess with me. He knew that his conduct was bad. So when you say something like that to somebody, I just can't do this anymore, they know that they're putting you through something. So there's no explanation needed. And if they do have the nerve to say, what do you mean? Well, you just put me through too much. You just put me through too much. You stress me out too much. You put me through too much. I just can't do this anymore. You know, but they already know what they're doing to you. They already know that inside that they feel so out of control that they just feel the need to constantly tell you what to do and constantly control everything that you do. So there are other scenarios where you are in a situation where you're constantly fighting with somebody, and it could be that they're not controlling, but you're constantly fighting in the relationship. You can't get along with that other person. So when you say, I just can't do this anymore, you're saying, I'm tired of fighting with you. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm fighting all the time. I just can't do this anymore. Or, you know, they just need too much from you, and you're not willing to give it. Sometimes that's just the case, where they are just asking too much of you. I'm just not willing to do this anymore. They are doing too much taking, and you're doing too much giving. I'm not willing to do this anymore. Some people, it doesn't matter who they are. You're just doing too much in the relationship, and you're tired. It could be that. It could be you're doing too much driving. You're losing too much money in the relationship. That person complains too much. That is something that is major. Nobody really wants to be around somebody who's negative all the time. If you're around somebody who's just constantly complaining, that's okay not to want to be around that. So if you want to break up with someone over the fact that they complain too much, that's okay. I can't do this anymore, because you're tired of that person playing the victim and complaining all the time. That is really seriously grounds to break up with somebody. You don't want to hear their negativity. You don't want to be around somebody with a bad attitude. They do not make for an adult partner. Somebody who's negative. You can't really succeed if you are yoked together with a negative partner. Somebody who just has a problem for every solution. Every time you're trying to do something, that person has to tell you why it doesn't work, or has to decide that they're a victim all the time. You know what? I just can't do this with you anymore. Or if the person will not quit an addiction. Sometimes people are going to choose their addiction. Okay, and that's how addicts are. You can give them an ultimatum and go, quit doing whatever their addiction is. It could be a drug or it could be something else entirely. And if they won't, I just can't do this anymore. And that's okay not to want to be with an addict. Somebody who's choosing whatever addiction it is over you. You can't be with somebody who has an addiction that they're choosing over you. It's not okay. It's not okay to have to deal with that. Deal with somebody who is controlled by something and won't fight it, won't give it up. Because that addiction will always control them and they will choose it over you. That's what being an addict is. So it's okay to not to want to do it anymore. It's okay to not be able to do it anymore with them. And I can't do this anymore is a complete statement. Just like no is a complete statement. And sometimes the less information you give in a breakup like that is the best. And if they're accusing you of having someone else, you honestly, in these situations, there's usually not somebody else. This person has usually just made it to the point where you just can't be with them anymore. And then they have to face that there is no one else, that they just screwed up that bad. And when I said I can't do this anymore to that guy, he knew there was nobody else. He knew that he had just pushed me to the limit and that I put up with way more than I should have. And that he was just out of control. That his anxiety was just off the charts and he just wasn't going to get away with it anymore. That he was stressing me out too much. Just couldn't do it anymore. That I had come up with a getaway plan and I got away. And then I did get away and I was like, oh sure, we'll keep in touch and everything like that. And as soon as I had, all my ducks in a row, I blocked him. That's what you got to do. It's a full sentence. I just can't do this anymore. Now, if there is somebody else, it's better not to let that person know, because it depends on how toxic they are. Jealousy is not pretty. In my case, there was no one else. There didn't need to be somebody else. I just was not going to tolerate somebody controlling me and doing that to me. So there didn't need to be some other guy. I was just going to go off by myself and not put up with it anymore. Because it's like I really don't need to be with somebody. I'm with somebody now because I want to be with him, not because I need to be with somebody. But that one dude, no, he just blew it with me. I mean, you don't get with somebody and then hold on to them by driving them crazy. Being a psycho is not the way to hold on to somebody. You don't hold on to somebody by fighting with them and making them miserable. So if you think fighting with your partner and being awful and being mean is going to keep them around, People stay with people who make them feel good about themselves. Someone wants to come home to someone who's peaceful to come home to, who they want to come home to, not someone who is going to give them a hard time. Nobody wants to come home to somebody who's going to give them a hard time. I mean, you can be so attractive and all this other stuff, but if you're giving someone a hard time all the time, they're not going to want to come home to you. So your good looks are going to fade really fast. So don't think you can give someone a hard time and the relationship is going to last. They're going to get sick of your stuff really fast. That's not the way to hang on to somebody. They will find someone else. They're going to go find somebody who makes them feel calm, who's easy to talk to. That's just human nature. Nobody wants to be with somebody who's difficult to be with. Okay, nobody wants to be with a doormat. I'll tell you that right now. If you're a doormat, you're going to get cheated on. So you don't want to be a doormat. But you also just don't want to be a source of anxiety and stress for somebody. Because you're going to hear the words, "I can't do this anymore," from someone. So I'm not telling anybody to be a doormat and be a listening ear and stuff like that. But you don't want to be a pain. You definitely don't want to be that. Because they're going to get rid of you. Your days will be numbered. If you think that women like jerks, it's not like we actually like jerks. We just like guys with a backbone. But if you're a source of stress for us, we will get rid of you. So don't get it twisted. We're not made like that. Women are not made to put up with assholes. So when you're hearing that women like jerks, it's actually not true. We just don't like doormats. We don't like fake nice guys. So a lot of people don't understand that concept. We don't like you fake nice guys. But we don't like guys who are hard to live with. So I guess that is the lesson for today. And I hope you all have a beautiful evening. Thank you so much for listening to my content. I really appreciate your attention. Leave any questions you might have below. Do not forget to like and subscribe and recommend me to a friend if this resonates with you and you think they might enjoy it. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.